Good morning, good morning. It's Wednesday Wisdom, and we're here with the beautiful Brenda Rogers. I love talking to Brenda. We just have, we just have some great conversations, right? And so tonight, oh my gosh, I've just been to Pilates and my brains should be functioning extremely well, and it's not. This morning, we're actually going to be talking about disconnection from our bodies, which is an interesting topic, right? You know what, I've got to say, people are thoroughly loving our conversations. I've had some really great comments, like people messaging me privately saying, "Oh my gosh, like that was spot on, blah blah blah. We love connecting with you and Brenda." So I'm going to have a look on my phone and see if I can see. Well, I'll get you to reintroduce yourself for those that haven't seen any of our previous sessions. So Brenda and I have known each other for
10 years.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And you're a beautiful woman in Sydney, but I'm going to let you say what's going on in your world while I find.
Yeah. Well, I think that I love mostly transformation. I love the art of transformation. And, what is the most rewarding for me is the before and after. We see that on TV with cars being renovated and houses being renovated and even, before and after the weight loss and that kind of thing. But it really fascinates me how we go on these journeys in our life and we're one way at the beginning, and then we go through this washing machine, and then we come out the other end. And that washing machine might be menopause, it might be having a baby, it might be getting cancer, it might be your mother dying, your father dying, and then we come out and we're a bit bruised and battered. We're a bit, it's like the Velveteen Rabbit. We're a little bit scruffy, scruffier, but we're more heart, and we're more soul, and we're more aligned, and we're more, we're more authentic and real and kind and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm passionate about. And in particular, menopause, not just exclusively that, because I work with men, I work with younger women. I've even had a few kids that I've worked with, but it's awakening women's hearts and minds to the sacredness and the beauty of menopause that really inspires me. And what that makes available is this opportunity for my favorite thing, sacred activism, which is basically getting us out there and doing the things in the world that's going to make our hearts sing and a difference to the way that things are right now. Which, if we put a scorecard on society's how well society's doing, I think we would fail lots of
things. Yes.
Health, fail. Elders are fail. Women's health, fail.
Yeah. Connection, fail. Relationships, fail. Right. There's so many. I was listening to you talking about going through the wash. And some people go through the wash and stay in the wash even when the cycle's finished. It's a real shame, but you can pull out of that and learn so much about yourself and others and the way you want to be in the world.
And that you use the word connection, and that's our topic for today. And I'm just remembering that that's our topic for today. But what you're talking about, none of that can really happen if you're living from the neck up. If you're disconnected from your body, if you can't access the wisdom of your body, if you can't have a dialogue with your body, you know, like your womb talks to you, your knee talks to you, you know, you sit with your period pain and you kind of work out, you know, what's it saying, then you're missing out on the wisdom of the body. And
the beauty of the beauty of the body too, like the beauty of that's the spices of life, in my opinion. Like, you know, it's interesting you're talking about the womb, because I distinctly remember, like, from a spiritual perspective, in reflection afterwards, I recognized that it was the start of perimenopause. But way back, I'm talking maybe 10 years ago. I went to maybe about 10 years ago, actually a bit longer, I went to a wedding, and there was this moment while I was reflecting, and these beautiful people were getting married, and somehow my womb was like talking to me. Yeah, my womb started talking, because she was pregnant, and you know, this was the second marriage, and you know, and I remember that moment where my womb was sort of saying, oh, you know, this is the opportunity. Are you, you know, going to have another child? And it was like, and I had this reflection for, actually it was a bit longer than 10 years. And I had this reflection for a while, you know, will I have another child? And I'm like, I haven't got a partner, blah, blah, blah. But I distinctly remember when I decided no in my mind, and I felt this shift in my womb, and I went, whoa, I haven't got time for you to muck up and chuck a tantrum, right? Like, I'm not, like, I'm just going to say maybe not at the moment, you know, because I didn't have, like, I was busy with life, but I distinctly remember that, and I feel like it was that moment of, we're just about to change, and this is your last opportunity.
Time is running out.
Yeah, it was this whisper. And I feel like a lot of women may miss that because it was such a whisper.
Well, I think they feel the biological clock, so that, you know, it's something gets through.
Yeah.
And you know, and there's a lot of hormone, that's very hormonally driven as well. That's what estrogen does, but the awareness that you have around it, that you had around it, you know, will I or won't I, rather than, oh, I just have to, you know, my body wants that, you know, that's all I want. That's the next thing, you know, a baby at all costs, which is what I did. You know, I got to 40 and didn't have any children, and didn't have a partner either. And it became my, you know, it's like everything. I didn't really stop to reflect, to really ask myself the question, did I want to be a mother? And I just, you know, I just assumed, of course, I'm a woman, I want to be a mother.
Yeah.
And that's not actually the case. There's a lot of women who don't want to be mothers, and, you know, the statistics are that at menopause, 20% of women aren't biological mothers. And so, you know, I went through this 10-year journey that was quite painful, and really came out the end of it still not having birthed a child, a live child, and going, you know what? I didn't really want to be a mother at 21 or 31 or 41.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
you were traveling and stuff, right? Like, you were off doing
I was doing everything. Yeah. But when I really reflect on it as well, like you did with your in hindsight thing, I can feel the lifetimes where I was a mother of 5 or 10 or 15. I can feel that in my DNA. And this time around, I'm free.
Yeah. You've got other things you've got planned and to do, and yeah.
And I can tune into those previous experiences, whether that's real or not, or just imagination or whatever that is.
Yeah.
I can tune into that and go, you know what? I do know what it's like. I do know how hard it is. I do know that, I do know that. I can connect with that in my body, in my DNA. So, the real comment here is that the actual conversation that you were able to have with your biology to work out what was right for you. And I think, I don't specifically deal with fertility in my clinic, although I have a postgraduate qualification in it, and I have done some of it. And I also went on my own journey. So I know that this, especially as you get older and, it hasn't happened yet, this drive to want a child can be all encompassing.
All consuming. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Obsessive even.
And so just I've got another story about being able to connect to my body when I had that, I had a 15-centimeter fibroid, and I would have died if I didn't listen to my body, because my body said, oh, maybe you're supposed to not have a womb, because they wanted to take my uterus out. And because of that one decision, I ended up back in the hospital not back in hospital, but I went to hospital. And, that was that moment. They said, if you'd waited one moment more, you may not have been here, because, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But from so they're all about connection. And I'm sitting here, again, all the stuff that we could do around connecting, getting women to support women to connect to their body, right?
Yeah.
But talking about disconnection.
Yeah.
What are some of the side effects, I suppose, do you see when women are totally disconnected? They have no, as you said, from here up, so they've got nothing that's holding it, they're not talking to their body. They're not forgiving their body. They're not, there's so much pain that women have around their body, right? I just saw being able to support a woman to feel into her body and having her crying, as she comes back to talking and allowing her body to share what's going on for it. Because it's got its own consciousness, right? There's the womb talks, you can actually tune into different parts of the body and have conversations.
The womb space. I mean, if we really want to get spiritual in this conversation, the womb is the source of everything. It's where we come from. And if you extrapolate that out, it's the source of everything in the universe. And so you come back to creation being a feminine thing. The birthed through the goddess's womb or something. And if you go into meditation or yogic practices or anything, or even martial arts, then there's something very special about that. We call it the womb space. It's not the literal womb. It's not the uterus. It's the womb space, or the hara, or the dantian. And it has its own consciousness, and it connects us to everything. If you can meditate in that way. And I haven't actually got to this point where where everything else drops away and I go into the source of everything. I haven't mastered that. But I suppose, if you are experiencing pain is really a message saying you haven't been listening to your body. And so the symptoms are illness or pain or,
dis-ease,
disease and so many other things. If you have emotional trauma, it can get trapped in the body, and that can keep you very stuck in your life, in your relationships, in your ability to manifest financial abundance, in your business, that emotions can be trapped in the body. And so if you're living in your head all the time, it's like the lady that you're talking about. She just went down there, and then it's about releasing it. You can't release it if you're separated from it or disconnected from it. So that does that answer your question? I kind of
and just to go back a little bit, when you were talking about the spiritual side of it, that we're from the womb and the universe is from the womb. They actually, I follow a little bit of science every so often. I did in my 30s intensely, like quantum physics and all that sort of stuff was my game, string theory and blah, blah, blah. But I remember seeing a documentary. It was actually presented, or the speaker was Morgan Freeman, which was beautiful. But the science is actually starting to say that black holes, when they, like at the end of a black hole, is the beginning of it, is birthing another universe.
Mm.
And so the whole, that's the whole birth canal. I remember having a conversation a couple of years ago with my brother about that, and oh my gosh, it's God. And I'm like, yeah, I've been trying to tell you this for a while, just the consciousness of it. So, science is coming to the party as well, right?
And it doesn't fit very well with the patriarchal creation story that we have now, where, Adam came first and Eve came from his rib. It's like that sounds more crazy than the womb being, the universe being birthed by so you start getting into this this whole very controversial cultural disconnect from feminine, not just women from her bodies, but women from, and men even, from the feminine. And it's, if you look at, like, I teach yin yoga, and yin yoga is associated with the traditional Chinese medicine 5 element theory. And it's probably even in the tarot and things like that. But everything starts with water. Water is the beginning of the cycle, and then it goes through, wood and earth and fire and metal, and then back to water again. And water is the womb. The watery womb is the beginning of life for us, and the portal is really the birth, the
canal.
The cord.
Yes, yeah.
What is the black hole into the next universe? That's how I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And isn't it interesting, because this is where you're talking about the cord, because as soon as we cut that cord, that individual, we're disconnected, and that individual being then starts associating itself as being separate.
Yes.
From that moment that cord's cut, and all of a sudden there's an external. We need food, we need warmth, we need, we need all this stuff, love, external to ourselves. And from that external, we start going, well, we need these things to survive. And next thing, we're unconsciously being conditioned, and it's not by anyone, is the system, is the way, it's all set up. We're unconsciously being conditioned to look outside of ourselves for survival instead of, and so we disconnect from our intuition, from our bodies, from us, like
we are dependent completely and utterly on external for survival.
Absolutely.
Like that's
what I mean. That's the system. There's no right or wrong about it. It just is. But like we've talked about the heroine's journey.
Yeah.
Like that's the cycle, isn't it? We see ourselves as separate. We condition ourselves. I don't know it like as well as you do.
I think that's something a little bit different. And maybe not. Maybe we can nut this one out.
Yeah. Because we can go through that separation. We reflecting, and somewhere, if we bring awareness back in, we reconnect with ourselves, our source, our body, and we we become the heroine that's had the adventure, and come back to the creatrix, the creator that we are.
Yeah, well, the ultimate end point of the heroine's journey is the sacred union. It's the feminine and the masculine in the sacred marriage, and that's the integration of our own inner feminine and masculine, all in harmony and balance. And I don't know if you think this, but I think of it as more of a psychological or a psycho-spiritual journey, whereas and maybe birth is just kind of another representation of this, but our separation from the mother that occurs at birth is a physical version of that. So yeah, you're right. None of it's right.
It's a physical version that has those elements to it, right? Because that's one of the things that I teach my clients, is that we start, it's just part of the system. We disconnect, we become separate, we start identifying with that separation. And depending, bringing it back to our subject now, disconnect and disassociate from, like, everything becomes external. And the whole process of in my opinion, is to reconnect and recognize that actually we are separate as an identity, but we're actually the whole,
But what if, because children are not disconnected.
No.
Their body is disconnected from their mother, but they are they are embodied, unless they're traumatized or something. But they typically are, we watch them play and they're in the moment and they're all that kind of thing. And I think of traditional, like, tribal cultures where they honored the child. They didn't go to school to become intellectual.
Yes.
It's where we start to disassociate with emotions and with the body. We get trained to be
external. We get trained to be external. We do, because, well, in my opinion, but because, so in tribal, like, that's real, like the primitive, or like the tribal cultures that I'm aware of, they're honored as the spirit that they've come into this body as. So that's honor, so that the actual community recognizes them. I mean, the Mayan calendar, the whole thing, like, I'm a 3 storm, right? So in the Mayan culture, I would be recognized for what that attribute is, and that's my purpose.
I have no idea what 3 storm is, by the way.
So 3 storm is my Mayan sun sign, and it means that I'm like, that's why I read energy like I can, because 3 is the subtleties of the alpha and the omega. Like, it understands energy, and storm is all about Mother Earth, Father Sky, and home and community and all that sort of stuff. So, like, it recognizes those qualities within me, and so therefore the community, the whole tribe would honor that, and that would be part of it. Whereas in our Western culture, and it is more a Western culture thing,
Yeah.
because we have been disconnected from that, and we're potentially unconscious most of the time, what I recognize with my kids, and I've seen it with others, it's around about 6 and 7 that they really start. Like my son will never watch this, so he'll be okay with me saying, but my son was so connected spiritually. Like, he would go out with the Dragon World, and he was being a wizard apprentice, and he had air friends and blah blah blah. He had all this stuff. And around about 7, because I never disconnected him from it, I asked him, you haven't been talking about your air friends lately? And he sort of tunes in and he goes, yeah, they're sort of going away, but they'll come back when I'm a teenager. And so I've seen that as the brain waves change, because, the brain waves of a child are in a different frequency, right?
Is it brain waves, or is it a year of school?
Well, I don't know. That's because they both coincide, right? Yeah.
Anyway, we digress.
Yeah. No. But I mean, we do digress, but we don't, because this is all about, disconnection from the body.
Yeah.
And as a child, we do have more ability to connect.
Well, we have to be trained out of it. It's our natural state, as you know.
Yeah.
And then, we've talked on previous times, I think we've talked about disconnecting from the body as a teenager, and that's the rise of the eating disorder and the weight consciousness and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's when, that is in the heroine's journey, in many cases, the separation from the feminine is at that age. And so many of us can trace back our disconnection from our bodies to teenage years, where you started to relate to it differently. It was like, it's wrong, it's not right.
It's doing stuff that we didn't, no one told us about, right?
Getting boobs, I'm getting hips, I'm getting, rounder,
right.
I'm getting blood. Yeah, exactly. What the,
Yeah.
At some point, and I think it's really, I was having a conversation with a lady yesterday, and she's like 50, about to be 50, something like that. And she says, I feel this drive, this longing, this desire to become more intuitive, to reconnect with my body. It's like, it's time for me. And I don't know how that works in the scheme of things. Maybe it is part of the heroine's journey where we start to come back, whether it's universal, I don't know, but I find it very, very common that women want to learn nutrition, they want to learn Reiki, and it's all about self-healing, and they're really open to this conversation about my body trying to talk to me, and even she said, what did she say? I'm disconnected from my body. That was what inspired me to have this conversation today, because we just had a chat about it, and it was like, and I don't take care of myself. That was the second part of it. So I don't. I've ignored my body, and I can't keep doing that. And she's exactly right, because in your 40s, if not earlier, your body just doesn't handle it as well anymore. And so the cost of being disconnected is lots of things for every woman. But, the answers.
Definitely an inner sadness, right? The disconnection. There's an inner sadness. And sometimes from like just tuning into it, sometimes women don't recognize that it's because of the disconnection to the body. Like, they're still externalizing it, so.
Well, how many of us look back, how many of us who have weight issues or whatever, look back at the photograph of when we were 17 or the photograph of when we were 29 and think, oh my gosh, I was beautiful.
I know. Why did I have a problem?
Why did I have a problem?
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And so there's this grief around, I didn't appreciate myself then, and I didn't appreciate myself then, and I didn't appreciate myself then, and I'm still not doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that the beauty of dealing with this stuff and working on reconnecting with your body in whatever way that you can do that is that you start to live in the present moment. And you start to actually have pleasure and have joy and have peak experiences and feel the pain of life and feel the sadness and express it and let it go and start to live life authentically and, with satisfaction and fulfillment and appreciation, all these spiritual concepts that are within reach, but we have so much difficulty with. And, that's the gift. That's the gift that all this challenge gives you, the silver linings, if you like. And I don't know how you teach embodiment. I use the art of feminine presence techniques. I use yin yoga. Meditation doesn't tend to work for most people because they tend to stay in their heads. I'm guilty of that. Walking in nature, where you're not just thinking the whole way, but you're practicing using your senses, feeling the air, hearing the birds, seeing the beauty. That takes a little bit of conscious effort. And over time, it is a slow process. Over time, this helps us
reconnect,
and then you can meditate and actually start to have, greater spiritual connection as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I kind of sped up to that, Liz, because I'm conscious of the time.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to wrap it up because we do this.
Oh, wow.
It's good because I know that everyone enjoys the conversation, right? And that was a great conversation. And
I can hear your what is it? The clogs. Whatever it is in your, I can see you're thinking, oh, this is juicy. What's my next question? Like, fabulous.
Yeah, no, I've got a client too, so it's all good. So good to have these conversations. And I know if anyone's watching, I know that there's been some great discussions actually in the comments. A lot of people will to our YouTube channel as well. So by all means, love to see what your comments are, what you actually want to add and contribute to the conversation. And such a pleasure again, Brenda, to have you on.
Yes, my pleasure. It was good today. Today was a little.
It was. It was a good one. So now we've got to think of. I'm feeling like to maybe go through the heroine's journey, because I was thinking we sort of discussed it a bit, and some people may not have any concept of it, right? So we'll have a discussion about it and see what percolates for us. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for watching.
And we will catch you soon.
Love you heaps.